for your mushroom and soy ramen, you're obviously gonna need your mushrooms, some green onions, your ramen noodles, some garlic and ginger, some ginger and some garlic. You're gonna have this hoisin sauce, some pho broth concentrate, miso paste, soy sauce, sriracha sauce, some crispy fried onions, and then some salt and pepper and some oil. So I've washed and dried my produce, well, really just my scallions here. And I have a large pot of salted water coming to a boil for my noodles. So we're just gonna prep these scallions or green onions. I always call them green onions. And we're gonna be separating the whites from the greens. So this is the, you see the actual white here, but really the whites go all the way up to here. And it's once they start to turn like dark green that you're gonna separate that. So we're just gonna go ahead and mince this up. And so as you can see, like how it's nice and tight in the scallion right there, you're gonna go until it starts to turn a little bit more hollow, kind of like so. So those are my whites. I'm gonna set those off to the side. And then we're just gonna go ahead and do the same thing with the greens. So you're just gonna take the rest of this and just mince it up. All right, next we have our garlic clove, and I'm just gonna trim this bottom piece off really fast. And then you're just gonna take the heel of your knife and give that a good smash. And take the papery skin off. This still didn't get very smashed. There we go. Now the skin comes off easy. And then we're just gonna go ahead and mince this up. So just cut it into like thin strips, like so. And then you can take your strips and turn them onto the side and start to mince them. And then what I just do is I just keep, gathering it all together and in a rocking motion, mince it and then clean off my knife, bring it together. And just keep chopping it until it's nice and minced. I'm probably gonna do this one more time of doing my knife rocking back and forth, cleaning it off. And there we have it. That looks pretty minced to me. Next we have our ginger. I'm gonna just go ahead and cut the peel off of this one. You can use a spoon, you can use a vegetable peeler. I'm just cutting it off because ultimately we do not need to use this whole thing of garlic or ginger. Why do I keep doing that? Of ginger. I'm also cutting off the parts that were exposed to the air that are kind of dried out. And you see, I'm just like thinly slicing it off so that I, don't waste, my product. And then one last. All right. So now from here, I can cut this into strips, the thin strips like so. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna stack them one on top of each other. So I normally grate this, but I figured, I'll show you how to do it with the knife. So I've stacked them all on top of each other. And now from there, I'm gonna cut this into thin strips again. So just take your time. You see, especially since I'm trying to hold it, I'm not going super fast. And now I can take all those strips, turn it onto their side, and give this a mince. So since I've already cut them into fairly small pieces, I don't need to do as much rocking back and forth and mincing like I do with my garlic. So just, to finish it off, do the same process. Clean your knife, gathering it, rocking back and forth. You notice that the tip of my knife never leaves the cutting board. And so there we have it. That looks good to me. Our minced ginger. For your mushrooms, I don't wash them. I take a damp paper towel and I wipe them clean. because mushrooms are giant sponges and they'll just get kind of waterlogged, and you don't want waterlogged mushrooms. So you just kind of just wipe it down with a damp paper towel like so. And then all we're gonna do is we're gonna trim the bottom of that cap off that is, again, has been exposed to the air. And we're gonna cut these mushrooms into just quarters. So cut it in half again, and just do that with all of our mushrooms into quarters just like that. I have my ramen noodles. I'm gonna go ahead and my water is boiling. I'm gonna add these, and these are only gonna cook for a minute or two. They're very fast cooking. And then we're gonna go ahead and drain them and rinse them under cold water and get some of that excess starch off, and then toss them with a little bit of oil so that they don't stick together while we work on the rest of the ramen ingredients. All right, so I have rinsed my ramen under cold water. The reason we do it under cold water is it will stop the cooking. So I'm just adding them to a bowl, and I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of oil on top and then toss these together so that they don't get too sticky and stick together. So rinsing them also removes some of the gluten from it. The reason you don't rinse like pasta with like spaghetti is you want some of that starch left over so that the sauce sticks to your noodles. So just giving that a nice little toss in my oil, and then I'm gonna set those aside. All right, I have a large pot here. You can use the same pot you cook the ramen in. I'm just doing it in my cast iron pot. And we're gonna heat a little drizzle of oil. And I'm gonna turn this to like a medium high. And then we're gonna cook, this is known as your aromatics. These are very fragrant, you know, vegetables and herbs. And so we're gonna cook these for just a few minutes in the oil. In here, I have the whites of the green onion, the ginger, and then half of my garlic. So we're just gonna cook this for like 30 seconds until it's nice and fragrant. We're releasing that oil, and we're gonna add some salt and pepper. And then just give this a good stir. And you should start to smell the garlic, the ginger, the green onion. And so that is it. And we'll move on to the next step. So to the pot, I'm gonna go ahead and add 3 cups of water. So this is gonna be making our broth for our ramen. So I'm gonna add my pho concentrate. This is not pho, it is pronounced pho. I'm gonna add all of that. And there's 2 of these. Pho usually has a ton of spices, like star anise, coriander, cloves, ginger, that are all toasted. It's always very, very fragrant and flavorful. And then we're gonna be adding our miso. There is 2 of them. Miso is a fermented soybean paste. If you've ever been to like a sushi restaurant or like hibachi, and they bring you like the soup with like the little tiny chunks of onion, green onion in it, and tofu, that is a miso soup. And then we're gonna add our hoisin sauce, which is like a thickened, sweetened kind of soy sauce. Oh, I didn't cut through. Get all that out. Okay, I'm gonna turn this heat up to high now because we wanna bring this to a boil, and I'm gonna give this a good stir. And once it comes to a boil, I'm gonna cover it and turn it to low heat. So just getting all of those concentrates mixed in. At this point, you can taste the broth if you like and determine if it needs more salt and pepper. So bring this to a boil and then turn the heat to low and cover it. Now in a saute pan, while my broth is coming to a boil on another burner, I am gonna heat this up again over like a medium-high heat, a drizzle of oil, and I'm going to add my mushrooms and the other half of my garlic. So I did have the other half of my garlic right here on my cutting board. I'm gonna add that, and then the mushrooms to the pan. And these mushrooms are gonna reduce down, and we're gonna add just a little pinch of salt. I'm gonna stir these to coat in that oil, and I'm gonna cook these down for like 6 to 8 minutes until they get nice and browned. Just kind of stirring them occasionally. And you see that these mushrooms have already soaked up all the oil. So I'm actually gonna add a little bit more oil. And you can do that as you're cooking them if you see that like they've absorbed all of the oil already. So like I said, I mean, mushrooms are literally a sponge, so they just soak up everything. So if your mushrooms start to like burn and get too brown because they've like absorbed all of the oil, you can add a little bit more like I just did. So we're gonna cook these down again for about 6 to 8 minutes until they get nice and brown. So my mushrooms, as you can see, have gotten nice and brown, and they've really reduced down by a lot. They've let all their moisture out. And now I've turned off the heat, and we're gonna add the entire contents of this soy sauce. And we're just gonna toss these to coat. Like so, and I'm actually gonna pull these away, because that is one thing about an electric stove, is even when you turn the heat off, the heat kind of stays. And we're just gonna, you see that the mushrooms are kind of absorbing the soy sauce too. So just give that a good toss. So at this point we are ready to serve, and the way you're gonna serve is you're gonna take some of your noodles and you're gonna put them into a bowl. You're gonna add some of your mushrooms and then some of the soy sauce that's left in the pan. And then you're gonna cover it with some of your broth, and then top it with some of your green onions, with some crispy fried onions, and then some sriracha hot sauce. And then at this point, I actually really encourage you to kind of add stuff of your own. You can add whatever you like to ramen. If you want to add some vegetables, if you want to add like a boiled egg or even some meat. So I encourage you to be creative, look at what you've got in your pantry, and you know, add some yummy ingredients to your ramen. And as always, I look forward to your presentation.